And we're waiting and we're waiting and it says we're live. Are we live? I feel alive. I'm
You feel alive.
alive. I'm alive, baby. Hey, everybody. As always, we're asking that most important question. Can you hear me? Somebody type something. Sound is splendiferous, Elbow. Thank you, sir. Hey, everybody. It's the Wednesday edition of the Mike Meyers live stream Ask Mike Anything. Or I guess we should say Ask Mike and Dave. AMADA. We almost got Amanda in there, Dave. Ask Mike and Dave anything. So welcome aboard, kids. I'm Mike Meyers.
And I'm Dave Rush.
There we go.
I try to get Scott to do that all the time. He never catches on.
Scott has no timing at all. The guy is, if you have him sing, he's great. But, he claps like this. Yeah. It's great when he's not on here. We can make as much fun of him as we want. Hello, everyone. This is the Mike Meyers Coronavirus Ask Mike Anything. The goal of this live stream is to provide those of us who are isolated by the coronavirus an opportunity to continue our studies on CompTIA certifications. So we concentrate on IT fundamentals, A+, Net+, and Security+, but we're certainly very comfortable moving outside of those areas on an as-needed basis. We also have occasional times where we talk maybe a little bit outside of the actual certification objectives, and today is a great example of that, where today we're going to be talking about how to block ads on your browsers. And to help me with that, I've asked Dave Rush, our resident Pi-hole expert, to dive in and help out a little bit. He's got me addicted to Pi-holes now too. And I got to tell you, Dave, it's really changed my life. Throwing the Pi-hole in was the little extra bit that I needed to basically run my browser pretty much clean.
I am so pleased to hear it. I too, when I added that, it's world changing. It's cleansing.
It really is. I feel clean. It reminds me of an episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia with Danny DeVito, which I will not put on screen because Elbow would be offended or somebody. You never know. But anyway, so we're going to be talking about the Pi-hole is going to come into play here, but more so, we're also going to be talking about add-ins and browsers. And I need to warn you guys right now, Dave and I do not agree on everything here. So, there might be virtual fisticuffs as but that's absolutely fine. And Dave's a fine tech in his own right. And Dave, feel free, just because I signed your paychecks, don't be afraid to throw in your opinion.
Just when you hold that blank one up with no signature on it.
Mr. Vice President. Let me see you the way you are now, Jetson. Fired. Like 3 people got that pet reference, and it's good to be old sometimes.
Yeah, they're all our age.
Yeah, 5 of them. Well, hello, everybody. First of all, let's see who we got sitting around on here. The usual suspects. Who's Dave Rush? No, never mind. Andre, my favorite Belgian, is here. Michael Reeves. Is Michael Reeves new? Sounds like a new name.
That's a new name for me.
And Music 6468, you are new. Welcome aboard, Music. What do we got here? Yeah, Elbow. I'm scrolling up. Tollywood, of course. Red TB3. Who am I missing here, Dave? I'm scrolling up. Dave, are you on the YouTube side as well?
I am. I'm watching away. Red TB3 is new for me. That's a terrifying name. Hope we catch him on Discord later and he explains that.
It's got something to do. Well, I was on Mars and I had tuberculosis. Something like that.
My 3rd time.
It's tuberculosis 3 times. I need to stop drinking that water. What do you mean antibiotics? Forget about it. Can't ship that to Mars.
I'm probiotics.
Wait. Brandon. Hey, Mike, I passed my A+ yesterday. Big round of applause to you, Brandon. Well done, sir. Now go get a damn job. All right. Benzilla 129. Hello, everyone. Did we already say Kevin Lopez? Kevin's old school. We know him.
Yeah, hey, Kevin.
And Tolowit. He's furniture.
There's a new name, Darcisco.
Isn't it funny? We literally, the streams come in different ways. Now they're all popping up. IT learner Jill, excited to be here.
Whoa, new.
Welcome aboard, Jill.
Yep.
Glad to have you aboard. Zach Morrill of We Know Zach.
In fact, if you've never checked in before, just say hi so we can catch up on a new name. And
they are. We got some folks popping in saying hello, so I'm happy. I'm happy. All right, so listen, guys. Before Dave and I start getting into blocking ads, first of all, I want to let everybody know that just because you're kind enough to show up here, we're offering substantial discounts on Total Seminars products. We're already, in my opinion, the cheapest. And by the way, Dave, I did check with Robin Abernathy. We're cheaper than her. But
I was going to talk to you about her, though. She was so impressive. What a great stream.
Well, I've known Robin over 15 years, and she just becomes more terrifying every year in terms of her skill set.
Her brilliance just comes through with this marvelous Southern humility at the same time. So
I'll tell you what I already did. Yeah, no, she got that Alabama accent. You know, that internet, that www. Click, click, click. Yeah. Anyway, so the deals work like this. Go to www.totalsim.com and you get 50% off of our A+ and Net+, our Total Tester, which is our practice questions, and our Sims bundles, which are the performance-based questions. We sell those separately. And so all you got to do is go to our merchant area, load up with all this fat loot, and then type in the code 113020, and you get it all at 50% off. These prices are insane. And this is all online stuff, so you can be in, I don't know.
For a second, stand by.
Is that a fire? Burglar?
UPS.
Oh, it's because either that or your cookies were done. So anyway, do take advantage of this deals, folks. It's literally, this is the only place this deal is offered. And it's you know, to me, anybody who wants to pass any certification, I feel that you need a book, I feel that you need a video, and I feel that you need practice questions. And to me, that's the holy triumvirate that will pretty much, I hate to say the word guarantee. I don't trust people who say the word guarantee. I don't know what your study habits are or your personal motivations, but I have found that serious-minded people with those three tool sets have a pass rate in excess of 90, probably 95%, but I get nervous because I haven't actually tallied it as closely as I should. That's a unscientific measurement. And for me, that's how it works. We have entire episodes on that. So anyway, let's go ahead and dive in. First of all, guys, even though today we're going to be talking about blocking ads, do keep in mind that we are always open to any questions you have. So don't feel that it's like, oh, they're talking about ads, I can't ask my question about SCSI. What a funny word to bring up. But feel free to plop those in there. All you have to do is type them into the live chat. We've got Scott Jernigan monitoring as well. But if you have a more complicated question, or maybe you're a little bit embarrassed, that happens. I'm going to put my email address in there. And you can see my email address popping up. And you can send me an email directly with your question, and then we will answer it. I can't get to them today. If you send me an email today, I'll get to it next Monday. But do be aware that that is an option for you, as well as putting them in here. So anything that anybody wants to do, it's all good. Now, do keep in mind also that because I'm working with Dave today, I won't be tracking the live chat as closely as I normally do. So if we miss a question, just type it again. And if I still miss it, type it again. The squeaky wheel gets the grease around here, kids. So don't be afraid to jump back in.
Looking at somebody who seems to be impersonating Andre de Goyert. They say, I found a 27-inch monitor for 140 euro. I'm not thinking that in the Netherlands they have monitors measured in inches. So
Belgium.
It's a fake, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, like in England, I know they still use some imperial.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how much you weigh in stone? Don't say it. I'm not saying what my weight is. Yeah.
Considering the recent loss, hopefully it's many less stone.
Yeah, you lost weight. I found it.
Excellent.
IT learner Jill, I'm taking both exams in 2 weeks. I'm terrified, but your videos on Udemy and your textbook have been helping me tremendously. I'm getting more confidence. IT learner Jill, remember the number one reason most people fail CompTIA exams is test anxiety. So be cool, be mellow. Don't, people fail exams from time to time. First of all, IT learner Jill, you're going to pass. I'm going to put Mike Luck all over you. Poof, there you go. But just be comfortable. if you're using Mike Meyers Total Seminars tool sets, people do really, really well. And as long as you're even an average learner, we have a tremendously high pass rate. But, Dave, I think anxiety can be good a little bit. What do you think?
Well, of course. And you said it a million times, heat and pressure makes diamonds. So that anxiety is the same thing as pressure to a degree. So yeah, I share. I'm studying for Python, and I did the same thing you did. I set myself that you advised rather. I set myself a goal on when I'm going to complete, and I'd fallen behind a little bit. So last night till 1:30 in the morning, watching Mihai on Udemy teach me Python. So.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Oh, my goodness.
And every time I come up against the quiz, did I study this well enough? How am I going to do?
Yep. No. But okay. Look, I'm not totally, I can code. I can hello world in about 12 languages. Okay.
Well,
so
there's 40,000 instructors on Udemy, and I knew you knew 38,000 of them, but.
Yeah, my problem is I'm not a good listener, and anybody with an accent or compared to an American Indiana accent, and that would include Robin Abernathy sometimes, I have a little difficulty understanding them. And unfortunately, it seems most of the best coders and the best classes out there are folks who are not from Indiana. And so I have to pick and choose that kind of stuff. But we do all right.
Agreed.
All right. Andre is making sure Dave. Why did I just about call you Steve?
Ends in DE.
I didn't call you Karen. That's good.
Appreciate that.
All right. So and actually Michael Reeves added something for Jill, and that is trust your instinct. That's absolutely true. I completely agree with that. Yeah. IT Learner Jill, you're going to do fine. And IT Learner Jill, I want you to come back on this site, and I want you to tell everybody how you did. Good or bad, it'll be good. But either way, come on in here and let us be able to give you that round of applause, because it always makes me feel good knowing folks are doing a good job. Mark Wheeler, I'm starting a temporary 7-day project as a computer technician tomorrow. I'm so nervous, though. Now, that's a really good place to be nervous, Mark, is when you start a new job, it's always a little bit tricky in terms of getting to understand the zeitgeist of wherever you're working. And, we like to say words like boldness. What is it? Boldness is the award of the brave, or something like that. But more importantly, it's you kind of got to go with what the boss wants out of you. I've been the type, it's better to ask forgiveness than permission, but I've also been fired from jobs. So, Dave, you ever been fired?
Only almost every job I've ever had. I'm still waiting for you to drop the hammer one of these days.
The day is young. The day is young. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Let's start talking about Pi-hole a little bit. And, not just Pi-hole. That's the important thing here, guys. We're going to be talking about blocking ads. Now, Dave, before we get into this, I was doing a lot of research on ad blocking in general, and I really ran into some serious philosophical issues about ad blocking.
Okay.
I'll bet you know what those are. Do you have an idea what I was running into?
Well, I've done some research as well and came up with a couple, so maybe we've got some commonality here.
It's really just one big one, and that is...
If I summarize it, it comes down to good for the user, not so good for advertisers.
Yep, absolutely. And I won't lie, there have been, since I have reached the point where I'm pretty much ad-free, I have been turning ads back on. Especially if they're not really noxious, like, God bless them, but Google does a pretty good job of putting low impact ads out there that can sometimes be helpful. And it's a bit of a challenge for me from a philosophical standpoint, because I do want to support people with ad revenue. I hate obnoxious ads. This is really what we're talking about. And but I enjoy the control of turning everything off and then selectively turning things on. Here goes my nose again. What is it with this live stream in my nose?
I'll tell you what, I'll do it too, and then we'll just make it seem like the live streamers do it normally.
That's right. What, you don't rub your nose on camera? What's wrong with you? I didn't get a rum from that man. And it is a big issue. And so we've learned and grown. The other thing that I'm going to add, and I'll let Dave put his 2 cents in on this, is most of what I've discovered as of late is from chasing Dave's coattails with Pi-hole, but secondarily is I have been empirically studying Firefox add-ons. So I don't believe in any other browser than Firefox. I know, Dave. I'll give you a minute, but I kind of went into this what I call is monkey see, monkey do. Press the red button. That didn't work. Well, press the blue button. In terms of throwing add-ons in and out, and I do not have a definitive list here yet. So I'm actually going to be counting on you guys, you viewers, to potentially pick up where I've left off. And I'll tell you this, if somebody really takes the bull by the horns here and starts doing even more development on this, we'll set up a Zoom meeting and put you on camera. So suddenly everybody's like, well, I'm not going to do that then. Andre's broken enough cameras as it is.
I've used 37 of them on my browser this week.
They all got big cracks in them. What's your motivation for ad blocking, Dave?
I think it was initially go along with the crowd. I read ads are bad. They get in my way. They suck. And I was kind of unconscious to most of them, with one exception, the Google ad choices, which drive me nuts. And so I thought, well, I'll just experiment. I'll put on the plug-in type ad blockers, and I didn't notice much difference, again, because I'm just reasonably unaware of the whole affair. And then as I got farther into it and I started paying attention, they started to drive me crazy, and I started looking for great solutions. And so Pi-hole, I think, was one of the most global solutions that I could find, because it's good for a whole household, or it's good for a whole company if you're willing to take on that responsibility in maintaining it and making sure everybody uses it. I'm like you now. I am totally clean. Unlike you, I understand the idea of supporting advertisers, but how do you be selective? Which advertiser do you want to support? But if it all comes down to it, if it just kills Google ad choices, they offend me. How's that? If I go browse for toasters on eBay, I guarantee 4 websites later, I'm going to get toaster advertisements, and that just gives me the cringes that Google's watching me and my surfing habits, my purchase habits, and they're going to help
your Nest thermostat, your Nest camera.
Exactly.
Yeah. When I had the whole big Google Home thing set up, and by the way, Dave, I'm probably going to light it back up. But anyway, when I had the whole big Google Home, I had multiple Google Home Minis running all over and all this stuff, and lights and thermostats and garage doors and all this stuff was all hooked up. And it was kind of cool in a big brother way. But one of the things I was doing is I kept talking about aardvarks intentionally, because I figure if I talk about aardvarks a lot, then I'll start seeing ads. The problem is aardvarks was a terrible one. I should have done asparagus or, light bulbs, or something more like that, where there would be advertisers. And I'm really pretty sure I'm going to light all the Google Home back up. And I am going to more intentionally keep talking about hamburger or something, just to see if the ads start to tweak that direction. But see, this is the one place you and I differ. I'm not, most of the Google ad services, as long as they're not large and obnoxious, those don't bother me that much. And that is the one type of ad I'm more willing to put up with, in particular if I believe in what a particular website's going to do. But anyway, that's where we go. So let's start off with the hardest topic first, Dave. What's the best browser?
So just before we bailed
wait, I got to interject one thing. Not on a smart device. It's either got to be desktop or laptop.
Yeah, PC based or Mac based. So just before we bailed out of our offices in early March of this year, about 3 months prior, I had read about this browser called Brave and some benefits of it. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to, rather than dabble in it and install it and do A/B comparisons between that, and I was a former Firefox user, I said, I'm just going to dedicate one machine for 1 month to this new browser, which wasn't new. It's 3 or 4 years old, maybe older than that now. called Brave, because its primary focus was privacy and security as well as ad blocking. So I ran it for a month, and man, it was impressive. It was fast, it was snappy, it's got wonderful built-in ad blocking. So I ran it for another month, and I posted a message. Mike is screen sharing. There we go. And he's running. Oh, he's taking us to the Brave site. Okay. So easy download. It's only got, in my mind now, I've been using it for a good solid year. I'm using it on every computer that I have. Everybody in my family's using it. For a while, I convinced Scott, but he changes browsers about as frequently as he changes his shorts. So he's bailed on it again.
Twice a year?
Yeah, exactly. Same time he takes a bath. He's going to so get me on Friday's show.
All right. So Dave, why Brave? What is it?
It's a Mozilla fork. So the cool thing about it is it uses all the same plugins as Chrome, also a Mozilla fork. So it's flexible. Everybody understands it. And it's got, as I said, it's snappy because it does so much ad blocking. And the security stuff, I take it on faith. It's got a built-in Tor browser. You can open up a window and browse Tor. So it does everything that every other browser I have can do. And where sometimes I use browser A or browser B or even Edge, or I got some cameras that require Flash. And the only way to get Flash running is on Internet Explorer. Yeah, Microsoft Internet. Yeah.
You really have cameras that use Flash?
Yeah, they're old.
Yeah, I know they're old.
Nobody is gonna recognize this, but the old Sony Apila camera that we have, that we take to classes, and the Axis camera, same thing. Those use Flash. And so
guys, these are super high-end PTZ cameras. These are really high quality optics. They're used by law enforcement here in the United States to do surveillance of bad guys and stuff like that. So
I found a couple at a flea market, and so, hey, what the heck? Let's install them. Oh, crud. I need IE to run them because of Flash.
All right.
But other than that, Brave does everything I want me to do.
My turn.
Please.
The only browser in existence is Firefox. Running a second close, though, you guys are going to laugh at me. I'm starting to like Edge. It's not a bad little browser. Anyway, the reason I like Firefox is that the maturity of the product is such that, any problems that it's had in the past, of course, the notorious Firefox memory leak issue, which was an issue, I'm not going to deny that, have, in my opinion, been completely patched up. And I feel that Firefox has a family of add-ons and tweaks that you don't see with any other browser. And so, you know me, Dave, I love control. That's why you'll never see me use Apple smart devices, because Android gives me the level of controls that I want. And granted, Firefox is the type of browser that you're going to have to take a wrench to a lot. But for me, that's fun, just like owning a Ferrari means, every 150 miles, you're probably going to break down. But is Alice Pottsy on right now? I don't want to get in trouble. But it's kind of right. A car breakdown in Italy is a part of the fun, right?
Yeah.
And it is for me too. I won't lie. It's I do enjoy
get to the service station at 150 miles an hour.
Yeah, and you look good, darling. You look very good. So, I know we definitely we're going to have two conversations here. We're going to talk about Pi-hole, and I know. So first of all, guys, Dave Rush has already done wonderful Pi-hole videos, and we're not going to repeat those. So I'm going to put a link up there for Dave's Pi-hole that was done on September 11th. But we're going to build on that a little bit in terms of maybe extra features that you might want to consider. Pi-hole out of the box is great, but I think you can make it even better. But then secondarily, Dave, and here's the big thing. It looks like we're going to have what's built in Brave versus what add-ons I add to Firefox. Is that going to?
Absolutely fair.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure how we were going to go with that, but it looks like that's going to be the direction that we're going to be going. Let me double check, make sure we haven't These guys are all chatting among themselves as always. Tolowit is always the troublemaker. Zach Morrill was asking a question. From the demo you are about to do today, do I need previous experience on Pi? Well, on Pi to do this, or will it be okay for someone who hasn't done Pi before? Zach, you're probably going to need a little experience, but what's going to happen here is that what we're going to teach you today is going to be an add-on to the video link that I've already posted, and I don't think you're going to find it too onerous to learn it a little kind of backwards a little bit, but that can be done. All right.
It only takes one skill, Zach, and that's
follow directions.
The operating system one time. And if you go back and look through the archives, my very first Pi show that we did shows you and talks you through the process of how to install the Raspberry Pi operating system on a Ras Pi. And once you've done that, then you can go look at our show on September 11th, and it will walk you step by step through everything that you need to do. It's the monkey see, monkey do thing. You don't necessarily have to understand what you're doing.
You need one of these.
Yeah, but if you can follow instructions, you can have a Pi-hole up and running in 20 minutes.
So let's go ahead and talk about Pi-hole a little bit, Dave. And again, not stepping on your previous instruction, but a couple of things I learned that were interesting. So the current Raspberry Pi is the Pi 4B, or is it just Raspberry 4B? And one of the things that caught me is that this is a 64-bit processor, and the installations that you use with the, what's that, Raspbian installer thing?
Yeah, exactly. Raspberry Pi Imager.
Those installed as 32-bit on my 64-bit system. So I'm kind of wasting, this is an 8 gig, so I'm kind of wasting half of the RAM in here. There are instructions for me, which is really just making one small line edit in the config file. How is that for Linux, huh? To pop it into 64-bit. Of course, the instructions I read, the very last thing the guy said was, and good luck. So I'm a little nervous to pop it over. So what I did is, before I had this extra Raspberry Pi 4, I had an old 3. Ask me which one, which is a 32-bit processor. And for the record, it's running like a clock. It's a tank. There's nothing for me to do. With these Raspberry 4s, the one I'm running on my home theater has got heat issues. So I haven't done it on that one, but I don't know can we see that? So there's active cooling with certain type of cases you can get. And if you're going to get a Raspberry Pi 4, I'm going to tell you, kids, you might as well go straight with the active cooling, because you're going to need it. My home theater literally will reboot from time to time. And
2 days ago, Raspberry organization released their own fan solution that fits with their official Pi case, and it's $5.
Yeah. So if you're going to go with the Pi 4, definitely look at active cooling. And then the other thing is, and we haven't done this yet, so guys, this is cutting edge, bleeding edge. If somebody has the chutzpah to kick their Pi into 64-bit mode and are successful, tell me all about it. I am quite interested. And let me put my email address in there one more time, because I want to hear from y'all on this topic. So Michael M.
While you're doing that, good. Oh, no. You're not putting up a slide. I forgot.
Nope, no slide, not yet. I got some though.
Right. Well, you kind of mentioned this at the beginning. Pi-hole runs on a Raspberry Pi, but that's totally non-exclusive. It'll run on a Windows machine. It'll run on a VM in a Windows machine. It'll run on Ubuntu. It'll run on Mac. It'll run on a number of ARM platforms. So there's a lot of folks who say, look, I don't have a Raspberry Pi, or I don't have a dedicated Linux machine. Cool, just take one of your existing machines and either run it on there native, or install a VM in there with Ubuntu or Raspberry Pi OS for x86 or whatever, and you're up and cooking.
Yeah, so those of you, especially you new folks, we've spent a lot of time talking about how to load virtual machines, and we have a number of videos where we have installed. I like Oracle's VirtualBox very much, mainly because it's free. And we have videos on how to get your own virtual machines running on your system. Keep in mind that VirtualBox runs on every platform, right? It runs on Linux.
Yeah, Mac, Linux, and Windows.
Yeah, so that's the other reason I like VirtualBox is, we'll run into somebody who's only got a Mac, and we want to be able to speak the same language. So I'm in no way cutting down other virtual hypervisors out there, other hypervisors of virtual machines, but we just know VirtualBox really well, and it's been very good to me. So. But now, Dave, you said something I'm going to challenge you a little bit. So when we talk about running Pi-hole on something other than a Raspberry Pi, they're talking about running it on a container. Isn't that accurate?
It is supported by Docker containers, but you can run it native. In fact, what a lot of people do.
Dave, you're telling me I can run Pi-hole natively on a Windows box? I'm going to challenge you on that one.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Go to piehole.org and then go to the downloads page. So they've got a Docker version and they've got straight versions for everything. In fact, there two of the things that I'm kind of knocked out. I have not done either of these, but Synology boxes, the big storage RAID arrays, operate a Linux operating system that's quasi-proprietary. But there are lots of people who run Pi-hole on their Synology box, which makes a lot of sense because it doesn't take a lot of power, doesn't generate a lot of madness. I'm running one on a Pi Zero right now, 1 gigahertz and 512 megs of RAM. So to run it on a Synology box in a little section there is a piece of pie. And there are also people who are running it on routers, Soho routers that have standardized Linux flavors on them. Merlin in ASUS, DDWRT.
Really? DDWRT?
Yeah, because you can open up that Linux interface, that SSH to it, and you're talking to the real world, and you can install it in there. It's really cool.
All right. But to me, if you were going to start out with a Pi-hole, I would really recommend that just go buy a Pi.
Yeah.
And put it on there. The instructions provided by both Raspbian and also Pi-hole are so clear that the only thing that got me in trouble, Dave, is because I know enough about Linux to get me in trouble, and the Pi-hole requires a static IP address. So I went in old school, like I'm on a Debian system, and started setting the static IP the way I know to set a static IP, and Raspberry Pis are very strange. They actually use the DHCP CD process for setting IP addresses, which is bizarre in my opinion. But it was in the instructions really, really clear, and I chose to ignore them, and I ended up having to wipe and reinstall Raspberry Pi, Raspbian OS. What do we call it? Raspbian OS?
Yeah. Raspberry Pi OS is the current name.
Twice.
Yeah.
Because I didn't RTFM.
Right. If you follow the instructions at the installation, it's a wizard. Again, step by step. This is kind of a warning for everybody. There comes a point when it says, hey, you got to have a static address. And you expect that to be the next menu that deals with it. No, then they go and talk about your upstream DNS server. And it's not till about 8 or 9 or 10 steps down the road that says, right now you have some kind of address. It's DHCP, it's current static. Do you want to keep that? No, I want to switch to static. And then they'll give you a menu to do that. So I had to do a fresh install on one the other day and forgot about all that.
So I've actually got
Pi-hole.net site.
And this is just, I want to show everybody how ridiculously simple these installation steps are. If you, and honestly, somebody who did not have even good networking skills, if they followed the bouncing ball carefully, can get a Pi-hole up and running. It was, you always talk, what gets you more in trouble than anything else is knowing too much.
Yeah.
And, well, that's certainly happened to me. I won't deny that. So anyway, Dave, Raspberry Pi out of the box, install it, it's up and running. It's great, right?
Absolutely.
Well, I got to tell you, one of the things that was most interesting to me, so Raspberry Pi, the whole idea works is it's a DNS black hole. I mean, that's what it does, right? So it has some serious limitations. One big limitation, is that when you pull in a website, you have a URL that's associated, www.robotmonkeybutler.com or whatever it is. And the ads are usually being fed in from third parties, correct?
That's correct.
So the whole idea behind Raspberry Pi is that it acts as a domain server in essence, right?
That's correct.
But it has a list built inside of it. And this list is all the fully qualified domain names of naughty people who put in advertising.
Right.
And the whole thing it does is that if it sees this list, it's going to return back we don't know what that IP address is, and you get a blank spot or you get nothing, and that's how it works. That's it.
That's it.
The downside is that people are getting smart about this, and organizations like, for example, YouTube will actually, all of their ads hold the same domain name as YouTube. So Pi-hole isn't going to do you any good at all. For the inline ads that pop up in YouTube, Pi-hole isn't going to do you any good because they have the same domain.
Right. If it's served by the same domain, you either got to whitelist it or blacklist it, and that's what you live with Pi-hole.
So let's actually pull up the Pi-hole configuration screen. Okay. And Dave, you're going to have to march me through this a little bit so I know I'm in the right spot. So this is my Pi-hole that's running on my system right here, and this is the administration screen. So you can see I just type in the IP address and you type in admin, you log in. So poof, here I am. So Dave, where are these lists?
Okay, you don't get to see the list directly, but let's take a look at the impact and then how you can kind of manage it. There are two lists that are baked in, and you can turn them both off or both on, or one on and the other off, but they're baked in. And if you look in the upper right-hand corner of your dashboard, that red box, those two lists right now, which are on by default, have 87,028 blocked domains.
And these are updated, right? I mean, do I have to manually update this, or?
You have to manually update them. Pi-hole people have a special name for their internally maintained and updated list, and they're not automatically updated. Collectively they are called, I can't remember the name. You remember it, Mike?
No, but I know what you're talking about. It's not Gravity. Yes, Gravity. Gravity is their default list.
Yes. So if we pop over on the left side of the columns and go into tools.
I keep wanting to go to groups management. Sorry.
And that's a really place to go. Second.
Oh, there's an option. Update Gravity right there.
So it's not too long. You can do it while everybody's watching here. It'll probably take about 40 seconds or so with your gigabit connection, maybe even that much quicker. Buzz, buzz, grind, grind. Yeah, you won't see anything happen for a couple of seconds, but in a few moments, there we go. Success. And here's the list of what it did. It's a little cryptic, but you can check the actual results by going back to dashboard and see if the change in the number of domains, top left. Yep.
There's actually less. Interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Them out.
They knocked about 2,000 off of there.
Yeah. So that won't work again for a couple of weeks. You can do it again all day long, but it'll just say the same number. So that's your default list. But the good news is, if that list isn't satisfactory to you, I think you've done some research and found some alternative lists.
Yeah, so this is actually kind of interesting, guys. So one of the things is that there's lots you can add to this list. All right. Now keep in mind that if you pick another list, you're probably going to have a lot of overlap, but the Raspberry Pi takes care of that as well. One of them that I found is called filter lists. So that's the name right there. It's just filterlist.com. And here are 111 pages of these. And you can see it talks about, so it's filterlist.com, and you could, let me go back to page 1. So it's got what I believe is the default. That might be Gravity, right? Oh, it's not, because it's privacy, isn't it?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so you have all of these other ones that you can add, and theoretically, well, that just takes you to that particular tool set. But I'm gonna lie to you.
It shows where it's getting some of the lists that it's conglomerating into a single list.
Yeah. So what it boils down to is you can, I believe if I hit subscribe, that's going to pull this list into my Raspberry Pi. And I think I'll have to, or I can curl into it, I believe is the way to do it. And yeah, this is here, Dave, I'm telling you, this is 0-day knowledge here, buddy. So
right, same for me. You just introduced it to me today for the first time we didn't have time for me to experiment and put one in. But I'll do that, and you can mention the results next week.
Yeah, I'm very interested to see what the result would be by adding more of these lists beyond the the good gravity list that's in there. So that is an issue. Now, the other thing I'm going to add that I've discovered with Raspberry Pi is that it drives certain websites bonkers. And the big one for me was Hulu.com. I love to watch Hulu. And I had some real challenges in there because remember, I'm using my FireFox with all of my stuff in there. And it kept going, you have a ad blocker installed. And I was like, well, no, I don't. I don't. And I went through and turned off all of the blockers that were built into Firefox, and I still kept getting the error. But what happens is it says you have an ad blocker installed, and that stays up as long as the ad runs. So you don't see the ad, but you see this big green screen, and then all of a sudden the show kicked right back over. So I guess I'm okay on that particular one. Okay. But that was a little bit of a challenge. Hang on, Dave. We had a question come in. Elbow, does block 240? Does Pi-hole block all ads on all devices or just one computer, for example? Dave?
Okay, your choice. And there are 3 ways to manage this. Number 1, you could go into the individual network settings of your computer and set that computer's preferred DNS server to be the IP address of your Pi-hole. So now this one computer is using the Pi-hole black hole service.
You're manually typing the DNS server into individual systems.
Right.
Okay.
If you want to do that for all of your devices in your house, you could do that. Yeah, exactly. And some of the phones are really challenging to do that on, and some of the tablets. So the easier way to do it is to use your existing DHCP server, probably built into your Soho router if you've got one, and set that up so that it passes out the preferred DNS server. So next time somebody initializes their network or connects, they will be passed down that parameter. And I guess there's 2 other ways. You can disable the DHCP server on your in-house router. That's a necessary thing to do for certain ISP provided boxes because they won't let you change the DNS server. They always want you to go through their.
Yeah, hang on. Let me interject here, Dave, because that's an important point.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to risk. Hold on. I'm going to risk bringing mine up.
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure which information I'm going to pull up for these people to try to hack me with, but let me see if I can bring this up. So when Dave got me to install the Pi-hole, I went ahead and put the Pi-hole in. Now the Pi-hole has a built-in DHCP server, but I didn't want to use that. You know, I don't know why. I just chose not to use it. And what I did instead is I thought, well, I'll just go up to the home router that came with AT&T gigabit Ethernet, and I said to myself, I'm just going to go ahead and use that. So that means I'm going to go into that router and I'm going to go into the DHCP settings and I'm going to start passing out my Pi-hole as the DNS server. Well, I think I can show, I got to make sure whatever I'm showing isn't a problem. Okay, we're good. I'm going to show this, Dave.
Okay.
Because this is interesting. And Dave, tell me if you can see this.
Very clearly.
Okay, so I go into the router that came with my home system, and it says, here's my DHCP. So I could set a range, right? It has some built-in ranges. I could configure it manually, but look what it says, Dave. I can set the router address. I could set the subnet mask, and I could set the first and second. I could set the DHCP range. There's no way for me to mess with the DNS. So that was Well, the reason they do that is because of this. I'd see I've got the right DNS server on here, so it's not going to work right now. Yeah. But if this was set as if I had this as my DNS server, I'd get this thing that comes from AT&T going, "Hi, we're AT&T and we're here to help. You're an idiot and can't type in a fully qualified domain name. So did you mean this? And oh, by the way, here's some ads for AT&T products." Right. I ended up having to take one of the 802.11ax routers that we've been doing demo here. So I've got the router that came from AT&T. Then I had to plug one of these routers in, okay? Right. And then I had to put in the Pi-hole because otherwise I couldn't make any adjustments to the DNS. It was very frustrating.
Yeah, I found the same thing too. I was getting ready this week to upgrade my ISP service, and I found their router wouldn't allow that, and I canceled the upgrade because I wasn't sure if the router they were providing supported a pass-through mode. I have since learned that it has, but I do the same thing. Then my Soho router passes out the scope and the DHCP server and the DNS server. But if it didn't, I would disable that and I would use another DHCP server, either the one built into the Pi-hole, or I'd build it onto another machine, maybe even another Raspberry Pi.
Oh, and by the way, I can't even turn off the DHCP.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Thanks, AT&T. But the answer was pretty simple, and that was just to put a router in between that router and my local area network. The weird part is it's a Soho router, so it also has wireless.
Yes.
So I've got the AT&T defaults that are popping. Then I've got this new Soho router. Plus I've got a mesh network. Right. So I have an SSID overload, which is yet to be cleaned up. I'm slowly turning them off, but I turned a couple off and suddenly discovered that my garage door opener, which is a little ways off, it wanted one of the AT&T. Why are we in this industry, Dave? Exactly. I do not understand what the heck we're doing.
There's a convenience factor and there's an I love to fiddle with it factor. And I think you and I fall in the latter category.
Yeah. So basically I enjoy the fiddling very much. So the bottom line here, kids, is that with the Pi-hole up and running, I noticed immediately a dramatic decrease in ads generally. Dave, didn't we make a list of where is that list? I wish I'd have thought about this before we got online today.
I saved it as a file. I can bring it up in a second.
So what we did, guys, is we put together a bunch of domain names and broke them into two groups. One group is testing how good your anti-adware is sites. And there are sites that'll just puke out all this adware and you can test your anti-adware against them. And then the other list we made is a bunch of websites that are just notoriously bad for ads. And it's a really good way to test something and then try it again. And by the way, the Pi-hole has a wonderful on-off button, which is a great way for testing. Let me see if I can pull that up for you guys. And it is right where, oh, Dave, no, I can do this. Here, it's under disable.
Yes.
I'm assuming guys can see this. We got a pretty long delay here in the live stream. I want to make sure we're on the same page. Anyway, so you can disable it indefinitely for 10 seconds, custom time, whatever you want to do right there. So it's important that you're aware of that because you can try these sites out. Dave, where are these sites?
Coming up.
Wait a minute.
Share when you're done sharing there.
Scott brought up one site. Scott, I'd rather bring up the whole list that Dave and I were sharing.
Yeah, it's coming up right now. Give me a second.
All right. And again, we want you guys to look at this list because remember, there's two different sets of stuff in here. There's one set. Dave, is it possible that we could cut and paste that?
There's too many characters to put it in the chat because chat's only good for 200 characters.
Well, that's fine. I'll tell you what, go ahead and scroll a little bit so they can see mainly the.
Everything.
All right.
sites that, yeah, I know. I just popped it in a word processor real quick here. So
Okay.
here's the entire list. And you can just go to well, you can see I don't have any sub URLs in here. Can You Block It is a testing site that's designed for all kinds of ad blockers. So it tests your uBlock origin sites with this thing, and they have an advanced page, or extreme page, that's got some stuff that's very specific to Pi-hole. Fuzz the Pi Guy .tech. He's got an ad test for Pi-hole specific stuff. And then these are some lists that Mike and I found and tested, some of which were recommended by Pi-hole experts and some of which just happen to know about.
And not just Pi-hole, but I mean, you know, anti-ad people in general. Nice typo there, Dave.
Yeah, notorious.
But guys, try to jot a few of these down, or maybe later if you want to, you can rewatch the video, make a mark of what time we're at. And so Scott, Dave, can you type in one more real quick?
I can.
Slickdeals.
There you go.
.com, which is also another good one. And these aren't dangerous sites. I mean, it's Macworld, for crying out loud. I mean, it's but they are good ways to test not only your Pi-hole, but any of your anti-adware at all. Actually, Scott just brought up a great idea.
I see that.
And we're going to, we have a Discord channel, which I can't see it right now because I got too many things up. But Scott is going to post, because he's just amazing that way, the link for our Discord site. Now, guys, before I do anything else, let me stress to you, this Discord site is not maintained by either me or by Total Seminars or by any of its affiliates. This is run by a person who jumps on a lot, Jose Braden. He's a great guy. He's actually putting together study groups right now for those of you who are looking to study. He's trying to start setting up time blocks when everybody can know to be on. But immediately after today's live stream, Scott will put all that up in the Discord channel if you guys weren't able to write a few down very quickly.
Posted it to the Discord channel, Mike.
Oh, it's on the Discord channel now? Cool. Okay, well, it is on the Discord channel, and then on top of that, for those, especially you newbies who aren't aware of this, there is the link to the Discord channel. So, you know, I can't guarantee that it's I'm not saying it's private, but it's not quite as PC as we are here at the Total Seminars Ask Mike Anything live stream. But it's a good one. It's a good one to check out. All right, so how are we doing on time? Gosh, Dave, we've been at this for 53 minutes already.
It moved right along, doesn't it?
All right, I'm going to double check for questions real quick, but Scott's doing a pretty good job. 2:49 p.m. Is it okay if I ask a question that is off topic from what you're discussing? Danny, you always can do that. Just because we have a topic for today, we understand that people have especially pressing issues or anything like that. Feel free to ask any question you want. And also, Danny, if we miss the question, just type it in again. We'll catch it. Dylan's Bentley's going out of here. Oh, sorry. Okay, Dylan. He's probably out of here already.
Say, yeah, and Elbow's just leaving for lunch because it's
what the heck? Come on, people. Brendan S., is it a router modem combo? Yes. If you're talking about my AT&T box, yes, it is a. Well, it's actually not, because it's native Ethernet coming into it. So it's really not it's not like a cable modem or a DSL modem. It's a router. It just has fiber on the WAN side and RJ45s coming off the other side. Dave, here's another question for you. Kevin Lopez has a question at 2:35. That was a little bit, sorry, Kevin, we just saw it. Does a Pi-hole slow down your network by any chance? Dave?
Definitely not. So envision if you didn't have a Pi-hole, everything that you do normally, when you type in, for instance, www.google.com, everything stops in your computer, and then it generates a DNS request to an upstream DNS server and says, hey, I need the IP address of that thing and the appropriate recursive searches and calls and cache calls get made, and finally an IP address comes back to your machine, and then your machine can formulate an actual packet with an actual IP address. So all we're doing with this is saying, hey, instead of sending that initial DNS request out to your primary router, we're going to send it over to the Pi-hole router. And that's got just as fast as a connection as everything in your house does. Excuse me. And it's a microscopic amount of traffic. So yeah, one more little hiccup here and it goes out there. But look what happens. Now comes back an answer. Google.com comes back. Your computer no longer uses Pi-hole. He can go straight to Google.com. And then when Google.com comes down, a piece of code goes in your machine that says, hey, get me an ad from fillmycomputerwithads.com. Oh, okay, there's another DNS call. So that gets sent over the Pi-hole, and the Pi-hole looks in its naughty list and says, nope, that's an ad site. I'm not even going to forward it. Just ignore it. So all that other junk that would have had to happen to download on your Google page or whatever page, we're not disparaging Google much, all that goes away. So it speeds things up.
Now, the only thing I would challenge what you just said on, Dave, is I have stumbled into a few websites where people don't understand that a website is a list of things to do to build that page, right? And depending on how they position their ad connections, I have seen little timeouts on certain where the page didn't really load quickly because they said, load these ads, then load the page, kind of a thing. And I did run into a couple of timeouts on a couple of pages. But
that seems like an exception proves the rule kind of situation. So sure, there's always exceptions.
Yeah. So that does. Okay.
Yep.
But that does come into play. Absolutely. All right. Sorry, Dave. I'm getting.
Yeah, it's all good.
People are talking to me on the side here. Scott Jernigan's giving me information. Something about Brendan S. is dangerous. No, I'm kidding. Patricia Grace earlier said revisiting Pi-hole. Actually, Patricia, what we're doing is we're talking about blocking ads in general, and that Pi-hole is definitely part of the tool set. We're going to probably spend a good chunk of the rest of this talking about the other parts.
Right.
And
I was getting ready to segue, so that's great.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So we've established the Pi-hole and what it needs to do. What else do we need? So I'm going to start with Dave because yours is probably going to be a little boring because, well, because I get a feeling, not boring, not because you're a very scintillating speaker, but because I get the impression that this Brave tool doesn't need a lot of configuration. I don't know. I've never installed it or run it. So Dave,
right. So you're exactly
take it away.
Okay. So the next thing that you need is Pi-hole, as you've identified, has this problem. It says, I am going to whitelist an entire domain, or I'm going to blacklist an entire domain. And there are situations where that becomes problematic. Number one that comes to mind is YouTube. YouTube does inline ad placement. The ads that they stick in YouTube don't come from fill my computer with adwarejunk.com and gets fed in from the side. It gets served directly from youtube.com. So if you blacklist youtube.com, good news, you won't get any of their ads. Bad news, you won't get any of their content. So there's a time and a place for add-on stuff that we know as adware blocker or plugins, ad blockers. So there is one master ad blocker that's built into Brave. It gets auto updated every time you update Brave. But let me show you the page ever so quickly. Take me 40 seconds to bring this up while Mike talks about it or about something.
Sorry, Danny McGuire was asking, he was asking non-topical questions. So
okay,
I was going to.
I got my page up.
Okay, Danny McGuire, I am starting to do my research to figure out what I need to learn in order to understand and pass the CompTIA A+ exam. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on Google IT support. My problem right now, well, first of all, I have not directly looked at it in a while. If it is still of the caliber that I remember it from before, then I do not see that as a tool that will allow you to successfully pass the A+. I have been told that it's been upgraded, and I have not looked at it, Danny. I understand it's free, which is hard to beat, and I got no problem with people offering free products. For me, the more places you have to turn to learn, the better. I'm totally cool with that. But at this point in the game, with slightly dated information, I would say that the Google IT course would not provide you the tools you need to successfully pass the CompTIA A+. So there's the answer to that one.
All right, here's a screen grab or screenshot of my Brave browser right now. To get to this page, there's a hamburger menu in the upper right-hand corner of the Brave browser, and you click on it, and about halfway down the left-hand side is an entry that simply says Brave ad blocking. And you click on that, and it opens up a tab that we're looking at right now. So I don't have any hard information that's other than since I've been running Brave, and probably last time I cleared the cache, he's blocked about 1 million ads so far. And with this, then there's a whole bunch of other selectable lists, but there's not an add-on list that you can do with. You can't load lists into this thing, but you can enable a variety of lists, and you can put in custom filters. And it says, if you're going to add a custom filter, you have to do 1 filter per line, and you use the same syntax as the syntax for adding filters in the AdBlock Plus browser add-on. So I did a little bit of research on that today, and I just want to show you a brief piece of that.
Yeah, I've never done this, Dave. I mean, I've certainly used AdBlock, but I've never actually gone. I'm curious. Please keep going. I'm a learner now.
Ad blockers in the past on other utilities. Let me get to my page here where I saved that. There it is. Writing AdBlock Plus filters.
You know, you're no longer sharing your screen. Is that intentional?
Yep.
Okay.
Because I'm going to share another one here in a second.
Okay, I got to get this right before I. Okay.
Fix my typos. Share screen and.
You're notorious for typos.
All right, so I have had ad blockers in the past where you can update them on the fly with a particular URL. But again, I went to look at the writing AdBlock Plus filters, and I learned all of these things apply to the Brave browser filter system. You can make several types of filters: blocking filters, content filters, including hidden filters, exceptions. I want to do this. And then they get into here about the specific writing of them. And most of them are just a URL line.
So this is pretty similar to what you see on a lot of Soho router firewalls, stateless stuff.
But the one thing that I found was really interesting is this. There is in AdBlock Plus and also in Brave Plus an assumed wildcard at the beginning of anything you type in and wildcard at the end of anything that you type in. So if you don't get very specific, you could block a whole bunch of stuff really early on. So there's a great page out there. If you just go Google, let me unshare this. AdBlock Plus filter syntax, you'll find the page that I copied that from. And it's interesting and it's powerful and it's useful. But again, from the time I started using Brave, I didn't see many ads, and adding Pi-hole has taken away a few more, but not that many more. Other browsers, however,
so it actually
and so I've got filters all over the place on my Edge and on my Firefox and on my Chrome, and you're much more of an expert in those areas. That's my monkey see, monkey do area.
Well, yeah, the one I've always surprised me about with this Brave, because I did some reading. I'm not enough to actually install it, mind you, but I was that pretty much out of the box it just works. Is that an accurate statement?
It certainly has for me for the last year.
So Pi-hole out of the box and this Brave out of the box. And you think it's Chrome based, really? Ooh,
it's Mozilla based.
It smacks of Google when you say stuff like that.
You know, you can find any shootout that says this is faster than that, but many of the shootouts show Brave to be among the top.
All right. Let me add it. Now, Dave, I got to warn you, I'm nervous about making too many changes on this particular screen because I'm running the live stream. So I want to warn everybody that I can talk about these tools. However, I'm a little nervous about actually changing my defaults right now because I don't want things to explode horribly on me. All right. Anyway, God, you know, Dave, I almost want to do this entire conversation again, except instead of just talking about anti-ads, we should bring in a whole privacy thing too.
Yeah, I think so too. As I started looking at your list today, that dawned on me as something we've got to talk about.
Because that's really a separate issue in terms of the types of telemetry that would be blocked.
Yep.
And I was actually surprised to see the Pi-hole providing anti-telemetry tool sets. Yeah, I said it right. So that would be interesting. And that might even include things like, you know, what type of search engines and that kind of stuff as well. Anyway, so with all that blah, 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 let me go ahead and jump into this. And let's take a look at my FireFox and how I'm running. Dun, 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 dun.
Those of you who don't remember, a while back, Mike did a stream on his favorite plugins. And I reviewed that the other day when we were talking about this, and he mentioned that he has ad block in there, but he didn't get into all the details of them. So here's kind of the first opportunity for the to get broken down.
All right. So also do keep in mind that I'd forgotten we did that episode, Dave. I just straight up forgot. Well, whatever. We're going to go ahead and chew on this a little bit and let's see what happens. All right. So here's me, and this is my browser. I use FireFox. I'm a big believer in tabs up at the front, so I keep lots of tabs. Yeah, that goes on, by the way. But anyway, so here in FireFox, before I go any further, I want to make sure people understand what an add-on is. Here, let me turn off stop sharing for a minute. Web browsers, all web browsers today that I'm aware of, have the ability to add features to your browser. And these are known generically as add-ons or extensions. And they just add code to the web browser to let it do stuff that ain't built into the browser, plain and simple. And so what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be looking at some of the add-ons that I use to stop ads. Now, I also want to stress to you, some of these also stop our privacy tools as well, even anti-malware. So let's go ahead with that understanding and dive in a little bit. All right. So here we are in this is my FireFox. I use Start Page as a privacy tool. I believe in that. It's a superb search engine and it works really, really well. And with a little bit of configuration, I can set this as my home page and it works beautifully. So anyway, we start in the upper right-hand corner here, the old 3 bars, and you come down to add-ons right here. Keep in mind, everybody's browser is different here, guys. So if you're using FireFox, that's where you'll use it. Dave, does Brave allow add-ons? Is there a feature?
Again, it's the same thing as Mozilla. So all the Mozilla add-ons and plugins and extensions work.
Okay. Cool. I wasn't quite sure about that. So what I'm running right here, actually some of them that I normally use are turned off. So I need to warn you guys about that. So the 2 that I have running right now is the ad blocker for YouTube, which I got to tell you guys, I mean, for something that is kind of a one-shot Sally, it works great. You can see I don't really have to do much. I can block annotation, which I'm not sure why I would ever want to do that, but if I wanted to, I could. This tool alone makes my YouTube experience much nicer, and I have a real love-hate relationship with YouTube. It's probably the website I go to more than anything else, but on the same token, it frustrates me sometimes the amount of ads they put in, especially the inline ads. This pretty much stops everything cold. I don't know if ad blocker for YouTube, Dave, can you do a little research while I'm talking?
Sure.
Does ad blocker for YouTube, can we get it for other platforms other than FireFox?
Let's find out.
I'll let you take a look.
Okay, yeah, I'll work on that.
Another one that I love is anti-ad block blocker. This one is hilarious because what it does is it looks at the tools that are used to detect that you have ad blocking software in, those big screens that pop up go, I see you have an ad blocker turning on. And this does a pretty good job. This is a very cutting edge kind of world we're in right now. And so it misses a lot. And it doesn't work on probably 20% of the websites that I want it to, but it works on 80%. And I can go to a lot of places that would normally have a pop-up that says you have a ad blocker on, turn it off, or whatever it might be. So those two are great. Now these other ones, I'd forgotten I had them turned off, and they're probably turned off simply because I don't want to have any problems with the live stream. So the first one is there's always some kind of ad blocker. And I'll tell you, if you want to see me and Dave get in a fist fight, make us take off our shirts, throw us into a room, and just before you lock your door, say, the best ad blocker software is, and then shut the door real quick. Dave, you said that Brave has an ad blocker built into it. And I thought you said Ad Blocker Ultimate. Was I mistaken?
It has one built in. I'm going to presume that since it uses the same syntax as AdBlock Plus, it's probably AdBlock Plus. But no,
you got to be careful, Dave. You got to be careful. AdBlock Plus ain't AdBlock Ultimate. Those are different forks.
Exactly right.
Yeah. So,
and
but I find
there are ad blockers for every platform and every platform for YouTube. Microsoft even has one that isn't browser specific. You just install it, and it will apply to whatever browser you use in a Windows machine.
Yeah.
At least according to what I read in the last 10 seconds.
And it's always interesting. People really argue over what ad blocker is the best. I've been using AdBlock Ultimate for a long time. Michael Smyer uses Micro Blocker or something like that. I forget what it's called.
uBlock?
The uBlock Origin, I think.
Yeah, uBlock Origin. Yeah.
And he swears by that one. And I don't know anybody who's willing to sit here and go, website by website and determine which ad blocker to use. I've been using this for a while. I do play with others, and it's one of these Mark I eyeball kind of a things. But I'll tell you another one that I really love is called Cookie Auto Delete. Cookie Auto Delete is just as the name says. The moment I leave a web page, it wipes all the cookies. And the only place that it frustrated me was on, of all places, eBay, because it's clearing carts. You know what I mean? And so that was a little frustrating, and it has a whitelisting function, so I can have it run or not run on any particular site I want it to. But this is a really powerful tool. At the very least, if you do get any type of ads, you get very generic ads, and it works out real well. The last one, I don't want to do any. These are the ones I wanted. All the rest of these are more like, let's do Ghostery. So Ghostery is an alternative ad blocker that I've been playing with, and it works a little bit differently because it automatically blocks all of the trackers. So it may not stop a lot of ads. It does stop plenty of ads, but it stops the trackers that go beyond just the ads and kind of moves into the privacy world as well. So those are the big ones I'm running. So right now, ad blocker for YouTube, anti-ad block blocker, Ad Blocker Ultimate, and Cookie Auto Delete. If you're going to remember anything from this video, guys, it's those four. Dave, was Ad Blocker for YouTube on other platforms?
Yes, other platforms and other browsers.
Oh, outstanding. So Dave, can I get you to do one more search for me?
By all means.
Anti-ad block blocker. And actually, I had to go to GitHub to pull this one down originally, but now it's built into FireFox. But does anybody else have that? I'm going to let you search for a minute.
Yeah, take me a second here. I'm over at GitHub.
Oh, you're searching directly from GitHub.
No, I'm not. I did a search, and that was the first one that came up. I'm just going to read the README file in there.
Don't sweat that one. But those are definitely that tool set. And guys, the way to really test this, and this is where I want to give you all a personal challenge, and that is pick pick the tools that I've just selected, okay, and bring them into your browser. Hopefully you're running Firefox like the rest of us cool kids are, and then turn them off, disable them, and then disable your Pi-hole. And then go to some of these sites we were pointing at and just try them out and see what it looks like. In fact, if you're really cool, leave that tab open. Now, once you've got that tab open that's got all the ads popping up, go back in, open up another tab, turn your Pi-hole back on, go into your browser, turn those extensions back on, and then go right back to the same site. And you can literally keep one tab without the protections. It's not like it's going to turn those off because that page is already built. And then another one with the protections. And the look and feel of so many pages changes so dramatically. It's like, why is there so much white space on this page? Oh, because normally it's going to be filled with ads.
Oh, I got something really good to show you about that then. Mike, okay. I got the answer here from the GitHub site. Supported browsers are Firefox, Chrome, Opera, Safari, and Edge.
Huh. So I'll bet you Nickel will work in Brave as well. Although you're probably going to have to manually install it, is my guess.
Yep.
All right, cool.
Hey, so you just brought something up interesting, and I want to show you something, part of the research and that I did today, or this was actually just today. How do ad blockers work? And I got a quick little show you thing that's cooler than all get out. There's one. So let me share this. So without an ad blocker, and we're going to presume this is without Pi-hole, and you're just running a regular old browser out in the wild. This is kind of how the world works. Your browser has made a call out to some web server, and it responds by sending out a web page. Got a pile of text with some HTML in it and images and whatever. And then somewhere in there, there's a line or a script line that says, place an ad, incorporate an ad into this thing, and it's got an ad tracking identifier number. And here's the URL where the ad is going to actually come from. So all this stuff gets sent to your browser. Here's the basic content. And then the browser executes this line, place this ad from this site. So he's got to go out to another web server and get the ad, and it comes into the same way. So this particular page is one that I captured today. It wasn't special. I just picked at random some web page that says, get this from here. And it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 ads incorporated on this page. So when we add an ad blocker extension, a plugin, an add-on, whatever you want to call it here, the process is almost the same, except before it ever gets to the rendering guts of the web browser, the thing that says, I'm going to make things appear, he looks through the scripts and lines of here, and he is kind of like anti-malware. He's got a list of known locations and known scripts, and he filters those out and only passes through what's left. And so I tried that, and that's kind of how I generated this slide. It worked exactly as promised.
Nice. Cool. Okay, well, guys, Dave, unless you have anything to add, that's really where we're at in terms of ad blocking.
Yeah, I got one more thing to add.
Okay, well, before you do that, we have a question pop up, and I wanted to answer it real quick. Okay. Where did it go? Lost it. B Rush.
Before.
Okay. Hey, all, do you have a recommended utility for verifying hashes? Any tool safer than the other? So the tool I've been using for a long time is called Hashtab, Hashtab. The reason I like Hashtab more than anything else is that it's really not it's built into the registry. So it's completely free. And what I want to do here is let me show you Hashtab in action. So here I've got one little file here called Fred. Okay. So I've got Hashtab already installed. So all I need to do is I right click on it, go down to properties.
See if you can zoom on that, Mike.
I don't know that zoom is a capability.
Okay. Oh, I don't know what you're using. Okay. Never mind.
Is it small?
Very.
Hey, Dave, I don't think I can do zooming.
Okay. Then we'll just describe.
Anyway, so I right click on it, I select properties, And I get a new option with #tab installed. It says file hashes. So it will actually show me the different hash values. And if I want to, I can put in another file and it will do a hash comparator for me automatically. I've been using it for a long time. I find that it is safe. I love the convenience of not having to have some utility where I got to type in, anything. I just right click and get the hashes. And like if I download something, I can just look at the hash right there. It's a lot of people still using SHA-1s, and I can compare that. Like I've got a web page that says this is the right SHA-1 value. I can just take a look at that and it works like a champ. So the answer to your question there, B-Rush, is #. Check it out. It's free.
Yeah, there's a lot of hash utilities out there that are free. So good stuff.
Yeah, I like #. There's others, but
we got another question too that came through the back channel. Thought we should take a peek at. No, I've lost it. Oh, no, we got that one. Oh, here it is. I got it highlighted. So at 3:08, Brendan S says,
I see it.
And this is a great question for you, Mike. Are browser add-ons generally safe? I was wondering about security.
If they're in the store that comes with the browser, yes. If you're pulling them down from GitHub or scarywebsite.ru, that's your call, man. But generally, the answer is we can absolutely count on, with a high degree of clarity. Did I just invent a word? That they are safe. But that's the separator. It's kind of like the same thing. Like if you're somebody like me who downloads a lot on my Android. So if I go through the Google store, I have a pretty comfortable level of safety on that. But if I start manually downloading APK files, people are like, what's an APK file? It's an install file for Android, people. That's the Wild West, and good luck to you.
Okay. All right, I just got one more thing to add to the whole thing. As I was doing research on the topic, I wondered, there are so many ad blocker extensions and add-ons and plugins out there. And in one of my browsers, I've got 3 different ones running, and they're all recommended that they run together. So I wondered what makes ad blockers different from one another. And my research says there are 4 differentiators. 3 of them are really simple and straightforward. The default lists that they come with for blocking, and you can always add to those. The syntax, if you're going to manually add your own things that are going to be blocked, they all have a little different syntax. And then a little more complicated, what do they do with filtered output? So here comes a page and it's going to get blocked. It's going to have an ad in it that gets blocked. Will the filter just block the script from the incoming web page and you get a blank space or an error message wherever the ad was supposed to appear? That's one thing. Can redirect in some instance. And some ad blockers, once they've filtered out stuff, they reformat the page before they pass it off to the browser, so it still looks good. It doesn't look like it ever had ads in it. So that's 3 common differentiators. And then a 4th one came up, and you led into this very well. You've got the anti-ad blocker in there. And so you've all encountered this at some point or another. You've got an ad blocker on, you go to a website, and it starts to load, and it says, oops, we've detected that you've got an ad blocker. Disable it or do something or send us money before you get to see this page. And I wondered, how do web servers detect that an ad blocker is in use? And what I've come to learn is that many ad servers provide an interactive ad to your website or to your browser. So when it gets through to your browser, it sends back, and I've landed, I'm home, I'm on the moon. And the ad blocker program or on the other hand, if you've blocked the ad, it waits a certain amount of time and it doesn't get that I've landed on the moon notification. So it calls the source server and says, hey, stop sending them web content, post this message, we've detected an ad blocker, and then they're going to do something with it, allow you access freeze it, redirect you, prompt you to unblock it. So the thing you have falls into my last category of items here. Really good ad blockers are building in fake ad replies to ad servers. So even though the ad gets blocked, it calls home and says, don't worry, I'm the ad that you sent and I've landed. So that's a really, really cool and powerful thing.
Whew.
Yeah, I know.
That was a handful, Dave.
I did it in 90 seconds.
Well, cool. All right. Well, guys, that's basically what we wanted to cover for today. I mean, we definitely have some forward conversations to have. In particular, maybe a bit of a deeper dive in what Dave was just covering in terms of how some of these things are working. Also, we probably ought to consider taking a look at privacy issues and how those blocking tools, because there seems to be a lot of similarity between those ad blocker versus privacy blocker tools. And then the other thing that everyone needs to keep in mind is that this is a red hot battle that's going on. And as quickly as a tool is designed to block something, powers that be design tools to get around them. So it's very fast moving target. And I find myself in a situation where I'm continually updating add-ons, looking for something new. It's usually driven by the fact that I hit a particular website that's being particularly noxious. And I'm like, well, I do not want to deal with this amount of pop-ups. And once again, I go back to the well and start fishing around extensions to see what I can do. The one last thing I might add that can be helpful for you guys is that it's fairly easy to type in a particular website. So block ads, www.robotmonkeybutler.com. And other people run into this. You often find that there might be a particular tool or update that's out there that will do a good job for you. So we'll keep that in mind. I'm not going to make any promises as to when in the future we'll pursue on this a little bit, because to be honest with you kids, we're kind of tickling the outside of CompTIA certifications here. But understanding add-ons and extensions is certainly both a Net Plus and Security Plus topic. And so I'm okay with that. Now, do guys do keep in mind, remember, we are offering an amazing deal for y'all that anybody who is online today gets 50% off of our practice A+, Net Plus, Security Plus practice questions or test bundles. And all you got to do is type in, where did it go? Go over to www.total7.com and go over to our merchant area, pick up all that fat loot. And then just before you check out, type in the code 113020 at checkout and you get 50% off, which is ridiculously low price. Can't believe you got to take advantage of that. It's great fun. So, Dave, anything else to throw in there?
That's all I got.
That's all I got today, too. Scott, do we have any more questions? Folks, I'm going to stall here for a minute. If anybody has any last moment questions, now is the time to type it in. Do keep in mind that the goal of this AMA is ask Mike anything. So you ask me questions and I answer them most of the time. And so if we run out of questions, we stop early. And unfortunately, we can't run past just because of obligations. So last chance on questions.
I'm checking. Did we ever get that question that Danny McGuire said he wanted to ask?
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
We got Danny covered. Hey, Alice Potsy finally showed up. Hey, Alice, we missed you, kid.
Tolowit, what are your 23 most favorite ephemeral boards?
I saw it. I have answers to that, Tolowit, but not for a public forum.
Yeah,
sir.
definitely going on Discord.
Yeah, I'm not even sure I'd do it there. But anyway, guys, well, thank you so well. First of all, Dave, thank you for jumping in on one of my AMAs. I appreciate your expertise on this topic. I think a lot of people are very interested in it. I'm going to head over to Discord, the Discord channel a little bit. How about you, Dave?
Absolutely. I'm going to get cleaned up after we get done here, and 5 minutes later, I'll be on Discord.
Oh, everybody's asking, do we have a...
Thanks for inviting me. I loved it. And please, anytime you ever want to come on our show or anything to talk about, man, that's exciting. The crowd really loves when you appear, and I certainly do.
Oh, hang on. We got one more sneaker in question. I'm going to get it. Sean McLaughlin just asked, could you suggest some entry-level jobs for people with A+ certification? Sure. Sean, probably the two biggest places to look more than anything else generically are going to be sales jobs. And I'm not talking high pressure sales. like here at Samsung USA, the Samsung stores love having people with A+ certification. And you're going to be out on the floor and you're selling whatever Samsung product du jour might be. Microsoft stores as well. And for the record, the Microsoft stores here in Houston did close down for COVID, but the Samsung stores are open. So that's certainly one place to look. The other place to look, and this is an area that people miss all the time, and that is, now I'm going to add a third now I'm thinking about it, is there are tons of places that use IT in a seasonal way. And, taking a look at places like, Amazon and folks like that, they almost are always in a perpetual state of hiring is the other place to look. And then the third place, there are going to be help desks. There's been a big push to bring a lot of help desks, which traditionally would have been overseas situations and stuff like that. Here in the United States, certainly, there's been a big push to bring at least second level help desk support back in. And people with an A+ are considered second level support. And just a little quick scroll through Indeed.com, and you should be able to see lots of jobs like that. The downside is, this is what I tell everybody every time, it's not that the jobs aren't here, it's just the jobs aren't where you are. And that can be a real challenge for people to, especially at entry level. A lot of times you got to go to where the work is, and that is something to consider as well. Those would be the big answers to that question. Mr. Meeseeks just showed up. Hold on. Look, if we say we're going to go and everybody throws in questions.
Everybody charges in questions.
That's fine. That's what we're here for.
Absolutely.
Deepak, I scanned my Mac with malware bytes, and so far nothing for some reason. The fan is spinning at 1,000,000 RPM. That would be a very high harmonic if it's spun that fast. Any particular reason? It was fine before. So Dave, I'm interpreting he's saying that his fan started spinning at 1,000,000 RPM, and as part of his diagnostic, he ran malware bytes.
Okay.
I didn't even know Mac had a malware bytes version.
Yeah. I had a tough time parsing the question because I got the impression that once he started scanning with malware bytes, that caused his fan to spin up.
No, that's not how I'm interpreting what he's saying. I'm not saying either of us are wrong.
Yeah.
But if you went with my interpretation of your question, Deepak, I would be looking very, very closely. You've got something running in the background that's eating up CPUs. And unfortunately, I'm not a Mac guy. Dave, what's the equivalent of resource manager in a Mac? Well, you don't speak Mac either.
I don't speak Mac. And I had to do a research project the other day. Somebody was looking for a CPU Z type equivalent for Mac, and there is nothing out there. They hide their internals so well.
Good Lord, he's got 16 gig of RAM on that system too.
It may be coincidence, whatever it had to do with malware bytes. But if your fan starts spinning up out of the blue and stays running constantly, it's one of two things. Mike is right. There's something chewing up CPU time. You got to find out what kind of background programs are running, or foreground, or maybe virus, but I don't necessarily buy that. And the other thing is, it just might have hit the day that says, I'm due to be cleaned out. I've got so much dust now that I've accumulated. Today's the day I start blasting full-time fan.
Okay, I'll go with those. Mr. Meeseeks asked a question. Look at me. Is a regular format, i.e. overriding once with zeros, recoverable in any way? Yes, but it's expensive and hard to do. It's not something that us mere mortals can do. You were talking about people in bunny suits at data recovery places. Does the CompTIA A+ require me to know about this? Which CompTIA exam does talk about data recoveries? I don't think it's A+. Scott Jernigan, any?
Yeah, no, it is A+.
A+
and Sec+ a little bit, but the only thing they tell us is, if you've wiped it, there's no recovery of files from the Microsoft perspective. And if you've got a broken hard drive and you want to recover data, ship it to a pro.
Well, but the other thing is that talking about hard disk recycling is what you might be hitting on more, and that is on the U.S. government, they have a military specification for data wiping, which requires 8 writes of the drive with differing patterns. And there are tools out there, free tools, that can do these super aggressive wipes on a drive. So I think that that's what they're talking about. I do believe that that is a hard drive recycle question more than anything else.
Yeah, I think they call them Gutman passes.
Elbow, oh boy.
Yeah, I see that.
How do connector adapters work? If one type of connection has 16 pins, the other has 10, how do they decide what gets loose or changed? Well, it depends on the adapter, right? I mean, so a lot of times when we say adapter, there's really more to it than that. For example, well, let's use something easy. So an old school DVI to VGA connector, if you were to look at the end of the DVI pinouts on the far right-hand side where there's usually a cross or a little bar, those wires over there are analog wires. So there's really, all they're doing with that physical connector is they're tapping into those 4 wires, ignoring all the digital stuff and allowing a VGA output. But now if you're talking about something like, say, USB to RJ45, there's circuitry inside that device which handles the conversion, which is going to have the USB code for IMA network card and all of that type of stuff. It's not really, it's more than an adapter. It is a, I'm looking for a better word here, Dave. What would we use here?
I thought you had a converter.
All right, so for not knowing for sure, a converter is a device that might have 2 different connectors on it, but it actually does electronic manipulation of the signal to adapt one way or the other, whereas an adapter is just wires that point. I don't know if that's industry standard, so I'm going to back up on that a little bit. But that's how it's done, Elbow. All right, just Jason, I'll tell you what, bud, go ahead and bring that question over to the Discord channel, but it looks like everything's kind of quieting down a little bit. All right, guys, I do believe that's it. Dave, you good?
Very good, thank you.
I'm good too. All right, guys, so we're out of here. I'll be on the Discord channel in about 15-20 minutes. You know, I love getting on the Discord voice channel, but it's usually just me and Andre. So you get a few bodies over there and I'll jump in too. All right. And we're going to all contribute to the Alice Potsy Needs to Get a Dang Camera Fund. And we'll see you guys there. So I'm out of here, folks. I will be here next Monday. Dave, what do you got going on Friday?
We're going to figure out how to boot a Pi from an external device like flash drives and hard drives and SSDs instead of a micro SD card.
Very, very cool. All right. Well, guys, we're out of here, and I will see you guys on Monday. And until then, this is your little Uncle Mikey saying good night. Good night, kids.
All right. I'm killing Zoom. Thank you very much, Mike. That was great.